Is your expectation, though, that... again, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but this first week's going to be really interesting. Again, all of the smart people who've sat around and have, worked this one out, and they've been able to work out if we can just go and, send text messages to this reporter and cuddle this one and make sure we have drinks with that one on Australia Day. Sorry, Invasion Day. Then, your choice of day. Well, then we'll be able to turn around and, slowly, if we win a day... Then we win 2, then we win 5, then we win a week, then we win 2, then we win a month, and we're winning forever. And this is smart-ass politics. It is thinking like that is smart-ass politics, because it cuts out the people who actually will end up deciding on you, as opposed to you thinking you can tell them what they think.
Listen, they have nothing. They have done nothing. A whole year went on The Voice.
Correct.
And that was because all Albanese has ever had was the aim to have a republic. The Voice was going to be the trial run, tell them nothing and get it through, and we'll do the same with a republic. That's all he ever cared about. Right. And you've got a so-called industrial relations minister who's the minister for unions. Give them everything they want. We've got a government that is feeding inflation while the RBA is trying to pull it back. It is a catastrophic mess. And all they've got is to fiddle around with these tax cuts. And that's
but doesn't the Prime Minister then turn around and say, but we've spent $42 billion to make... Now, again, we all know the detail of why that's garbage, but he's going to take that on FM breakfast shows tomorrow with hosts, no disrespect, who aren't watching tonight, who aren't across the every little granular. Oh, that's good. Good on you, PM. Thanks very much, mate. You know how this rolls out.
The really interesting thing is, and this is why it is such a high-stakes, high-wire act, is that Labor electorates are now, on average, wealthier than coalition electorates.
Correct.
So Labor is actually hurting. Like, if you look at that crazy seat in WA, Tangley, that no one's ever heard of before,
and no one can pronounce.
Never ever
I'm with
before.
you completely. Yeah.
That their average weekly income, I think the national average is something like 1,400 or something.
Yeah.
Theirs is like 1,800, right? Correct. Way above, right?
Correct.
Now, do you think they're going to cop this? I don't know. Having said that, though,
what about the seat of Higgins in Melbourne?
Also, what about Bennelong?
Correct.
But we also know that that Labor is on the nose and that blue-collar voters are turning towards Peter Dutton. So in some ways, it is an incredibly brave, Sir Humphrey Appleby would say, courageous effort to recapture the working class, recapture lower and middle income voters. And just the little cherry on top is that finally it is belled the cat with the Teals, because the Teals have had to come out against it. And so we all know that while the Teals are dripping wet left when it comes to things like climate change or national integrity, when it comes to actual poor people, actual ordinary working Australians, they effing hate them, and they'll claw back every single dollar they can from them so they can put a bit more wallpaper on their mansions.
So here's the plan, right, about us. We follow every, we count every grain of sand on the beach. We follow every play, all right? So I'm going to tell you word for word how it's going to play every single night about how they're trying to win the message game. But never forget, and it's why I explained to you the actual weekly breakdown for you here. And if you think there's any Australian who's going to go, thanks, mate, when they already took $1,500 off them, and again, for many of those brackets, they're not even giving that back right now. Well, I don't think messaging is going to get around that, but
and
we'll chat about it.
Also remember Jonathan Lee's interview when Bill Shorten was up in Queensland and put to FIFO workers that $200,000 a year made them rich.
Yep.
And the reaction that stemmed from that. That Jonathan Lee interview was very important in the outcome of that election.
Very good
and
point.
they're the sort of people, the aspirational people who work and work hard,
but also
who are not going to say this. We were planning on this. This was promised, and you've broken a promise. You said your word was your bond and all this sort of rubbish. We cannot believe a single solitary word that Mr Albanese has to say to anybody.
Yeah. But also, don't forget, I mean, I was watching again, in the preheat of all of this, one of the discussions on one of the Channel 7 or Channel 9 breakfast shows, they had a finance guy on, and he was talking about, well, I think the logic here is about taking $1 off Gina and $1 off Twiggy to give to... Okay, Now, great fan of Mrs. Ryan Hyatt, her support and her work.
No.
But can we be very clear? If you have $180,000, it's not $1 million and it's not $1 billion. All right. So this is part of the calculation that the left has made. Is the assumption that 180 is life O'Reilly. We all know it ain't. It's better than 40. We get it.
But also, people like that aren't paying pay-as-you-go tax at all.
No.
Like you don't get like. Chances
I'll find the quote. I'll send it to you.
Their income is zero on paper. Well, they've got all these company holdings.
All right, we're out of time. Bronwyn, Joe, I think we'll return to the subject at some point.
Maybe.
Very rare we stick on one. We did it for a year with The Voice, though, so we'll see what happens. All right, thank you, guys. Do appreciate it.